Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Should be sending out a notice that we are live and we'll get some people on here, hopefully. If you're watching this in replay, welcome. This is Dad University. I'm Jason Kreidman. I think today is Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. Put a timestamp on it. Just had a couple minutes here in between some things, so I figured I would check in with everybody, see how people are doing. If you come into the chat and you're live, please say hello, where you're from, and ask any questions you might have. It's been a while since I've done, I know I haven't been doing consistent lives. Life gets in the way, but I do always enjoy when I get a chance to do this. But say hello. You don't have to ask a question, but certainly it makes this a little bit easier because then I have something to talk about. Because I didn't prepare, and that's not to say that I am usually prepared. I just I wasn't expecting necessarily to go online, but I had a couple extra minutes, and so I wanted to do that and see how everyone was doing. So I'll just what's going on here at Dad University. More videos. Just launched another video, how to raise a confident child. If you haven't checked that out, be sure to do that. And then also recently been putting out some more shorts. That's been going really well. Getting some new people into the community. Also, if you want to support the channel, I really appreciate it. You can become a member. Just go to daduniversity.com, click on membership, and you can pay what feels good, whatever it is that you want to pay. Then you have access to all our courses, videos, all kinds of other stuff. So become a member. That's the best way to support it. But also, if you want to just support the channel, you can go to daduniversity.com/support, and you can donate. I think that's the URL. In fact, let me check. I haven't done it in a while. Let's see. We'll do this live together. It is daduniversity.com. I should know this by now, but you know what? I don't plug it a lot. So daduniversity.com/support if you want to donate. But like I said, become a member, get some value, get the courses, get access to all the videos. They're all organized. There's some chat and messaging you can do. So that's a little bit more valuable to you. In either case, it's appreciated. That's what allows us to, keep the videos coming, allocate time towards it and resources. Not sure how familiar you are with recording, but, from scripting to recording to, just resources, cameras, lighting, sound, editing, the time, people, it is a lot. And so anything that you guys can do to support the channel is greatly appreciated. And people do, and it's great. And it really is wonderful when people are able to support that. So if you've got a question, anything about fatherhood, anything about personal development, anything that you think might be relevant to being a dad, I'll see if I can answer it. And if I can't, I will tell you honestly that I can't answer it. But I won't just make up an answer. I promise. And then, but just say hi in the chat, where you're from. It's always cool. I've got probably 15, 20 minutes here. I got to go pick up my kids. Just drop them off, and they go to martial arts nearby, and then I have to go pick them up. So figured I'd get a quick live stream in and see how everybody is doing. From Turkey, Ekram, good to see you. RCNG 086, what would you say was your biggest nervous point before your first was born? I think for me, I never had even, I think I have two sisters that were older and had families. I think the biggest thing for me was I just had never been around children. I didn't babysit. I wasn't really comfortable around kids. I didn't know how to talk to kids. Certainly not around babies. My sisters maybe babysat a little, a couple times, but I think the first baby I ever held was my nephew, and I held him once or twice, prior to my own child. And so I think for me, I didn't know anything, and so I think for me, just like my nerves was just the lack of knowledge on how to comfort a child or take care of a child. I didn't know anything. I didn't study anything before my child was born. It wasn't until my children were 1 and 3 that I then started taking parenting classes. And so, lucky for me, my wife at the time was a labor and delivery nurse, and so had a lot of experience, at least with the labor and delivery process. But once we got the child home, it was like, okay, what do we do? I think, yeah, I mean, as it relates to the baby, that is probably my biggest nerve point. I'd say then personally, though, had some financial difficulty, like, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to afford this? I was going through some business transition. I had gotten out of one business and was going into another. I'm an entrepreneur, so that was nerve wracking. Yeah, I might even say that was worse. The business part of it was worse. So how am I going to pay for this kid? And because I had a loss of income, I was in a bad situation business wise, and I just needed to get out. And so, and my wife was working, part time, and so yeah, that's a little bit scary. But it all worked out. My kids are now 15 and 13. We've been through ups and downs. But they're great kids. And yeah, it's quite the journey. And I can't believe we just went on a vacation. I cannot believe how fast it goes. Everybody talks about it. Everybody, because I have siblings, I have 2 sisters that have older kids, or they had children before we did. And, just the comments of wow, this goes really fast. And even seeing their kids, my nieces and nephews grow up, you don't realize how fast that goes. And yeah, so but as far as nervous, just to answer your question, probably financial. And then from a kid standpoint is I didn't know anything. I didn't know what to do. Franco from Vegas, right on. Big Earth, good to see you. Mo Breezy, good to see you. I'm just reading here. Mo Breezy, I just found out I'm going to be a boy dad. What should I expect in the first month or 2 after the baby is born? I think you should expect the unexpected. In other words, don't have too many expectations. I know this is it's an easy way to get out of the question, but that's part of the problem, is that you have all these expectations, like the child should do this, that's going to sleep at this time, is going to eat at this time, that's going to, your wife or partner is going to do this way. You kind of have to get out of the expectation part and just try to go with the flow. Now, I say that the best that you can. I am not a go with the flow kind of guy. I don't know if you guys can see that in my videos, but I'm not. I'm a planner. I'm type A. I'm high strung. And so having a baby was, something where you have to learn patience. And I think it helped me tremendously to study patience. I had already begun meditation and started doing some yoga and really understanding how to be patient and how to calm my brain and, not be so reactionary and stuff. But it took practice. And that's something that I would expect in the first month or 2 is it's a real change. And sometimes you're going through the honeymoon phase. The first month or 2 could be awesome for many people. You're just wow, this is so great. That's so easy. And then all of a sudden that changes. The other thing too, I think for people to keep in mind when they're new is that nothing lasts forever. I mean, you have a child forever, but nothing lasts forever. So you have this phase where like the baby's crying and you can't sleep, or then the next one is like, the baby's teething, or the next one, the baby's a toddler. And the next one, the kid's going to school and crying. The next one, there's all these stages that you go through. And when you're in it, you feel like it's never going to end. You feel like, this is forever. Like nothing's going to change. My kid does this. This is like always what they do. And that's just not the case. Like, that's why I said, I now have teens. I'm dealing with completely different problems, completely different issues. And I remember worrying so much about the specific issues that we were having at that time, like trouble with the baby sleeping, trouble with eating, trouble with the baby not going to the bathroom or whatever. And like, it all works out, like you kind of, you're putting out fires. You don't get the chance often to really look into the future and plan and such. So, in the first month, 2 and many months, you're just kind of going with the flow, try to be patient, try to enjoy the process, try to enjoy, even the elements where the child, you feel like you can't soothe the child, like just try to enjoy that. And if there's any probably regrets for me, because I hadn't begun Dad University, I hadn't begun studying, I haven't done classes and understanding it, and is not enjoying the initial parts as much as I probably could have. I was so worried about getting things right, and making sure that the baby was on a schedule or such that I think I could have probably saved a couple gray hairs. I stressed a little bit too much, and, in the end it worked out okay. But I think if I have any sort of regrets or what I would do differently, that would probably be it. Let me try to get to some quick question. Big Earth, does having a child feel all consuming? I think for many it does, because it is such a difference, for a man in general. I'm generalizing, and there are certainly exceptions. But for men, I think there's such a radical shift. I mean, there is for a mom too, but there's such a radical shift of like being on your own, doing your own things. Then you're maybe in a relationship. If you get married or you're in a, committed relationship, and then you have the child, it's like the shifts are pretty drastic of like your time, your focus, what you're worried about financially. There's all these like big shifts, and it is pretty all consuming. And it's not until, they get a little bit older that to me, it gets a little less. But I think you have that option. I mean, for some parents, it's not all consuming. They go and they do what they want to do, and their kids aren't, or they drag their kids with them, or, I think that's an individual kind of personality thing too. I think for the most part in the younger years though, for myself and my wife, it was very all consuming, just because you think differently. You think, instead of just one dimensional, you're sort of thinking 3-dimensional. You're thinking of your significant other, and then also your children. And so there's a lot more pressure, a lot more pressure, but then a lot more fullness too, like in a good way. So Trenton just had a girl last Tuesday. Awesome. James got some feedback. It was nuts. Let's see. David, do you believe in homeschooling or private schooling? I think that's an individual decision. I think if you homeschool, as long as you have an outlet for the social aspects of school, I mean, to each his own. For us, we didn't consider it, but I think for many people that, that's an individual decision. I do think, they might get more attention. They can probably get a better education in some cases, but the socialization part is really important. So as long as you can, do that. And I know with many, maybe there's pods or there's other people that are doing the same thing, but the socialization part is really important in adolescence and in young kids. And, that's learning how to get along with others, learning how to, at least that's my point of view. Certainly there are homeschooled children that do just fine. And I think it could also be temperament and personality too. that, certain children will thrive. It was kind of like during COVID, there were certain children that just thrive that, they were, my kids loved it. They are scheduled. They were really good about their scheduling. They had freedom. They had to do, like, they were good. They did well in school. Like, they didn't have the social aspect, of course, but except for kids around. But then there was other kids that it just ruined. It just absolutely ruined the kids, and they just needed those outlets and that social, and they didn't have it. I think luckily we had, some social outlets for my children, but yeah. Alex, good to see you. Glad you're enjoying the videos. 0 days pregnant. Not sure what that means, Turbo. So Ekram, I want to do something like you. I want to make projects to support marriage, couple relations, and parenting in my environment in Istanbul. What's kind of advice? You just go for it. I think, I can certainly talk on that. The biggest thing that keeps us from doing it is fear. And I think, I was very afraid in the beginning to put myself out there. I was still learning. I was taking classes. I became like a certified coach in parenting, and I was sort of, I'm still learning, and I don't claim to be an expert in all areas. I'm an expert in the areas that I've experienced. I've learned, and I kind of do that. Also, I deal with a lot of people and talk with a lot of people and see a lot of situations and study a lot, and looking at what works, what doesn't work, and then I see even with my own kids. I just think you have to go for it. And that just means, if you want to do writing, if you want to do video, if you want to do a podcast, doesn't matter if it's good, bad, wrong, right, whatever, you just do it, and you got to practice it. And it's kind of funny. I look back now, I look at some of my old original videos, and I've been doing this now for years. And you can't really see it, but the lights were falling in the background. I was like recording on my phone. I had this like sheet set up and was trying to cut the video. And here's what I realized is, like, I can't do the technical aspects myself. I have an editor now and somebody who handles all that, because I don't enjoy it, don't like it, don't want to do it. Some people like that stuff. I'm say in some aspects technical. I've been in internet marketing for 20 years, but I'm savvy on the marketing side, but not on the technical side. And I don't enjoy it. I enjoy doing things like this where I'm talking, or I'm doing the video, shooting the videos are fun, or the marketing of the videos is okay. But I just say you got to do it. And it's not easy. You got to put yourself out there. You're going to fail. Like I said, I had sound not working. I had lights falling. I had people telling me I was horrible. By the way, YouTube is a great medium. People are generally really nice and such. I won't say which, but there's other networks and other stuff that I've experienced, and it's just not the place for me. So I think you have to know where you want to put your content too. And this audience is always really, really respectful and great, and I appreciate that. Some of the other audiences are just not the case, and very judgmental and critical, and just don't like it. Don't like the other networks, the other social networks. And so I focus a lot now just on YouTube. All right. So Trenton, I need to go back to work, but I don't want to leave my 1-week-old baby and fiance. Any advice on how to manage those thoughts? I think you have to evaluate, there's certainly guilt involved of going back. If your fiance is supportive and has the ability to stay with the child or such, sometimes you have to make a family decision. And, if that is part of your role is supporting the family, then, you do that. I think what you can maybe take some solace in is that the quality of the time you're with your child is more important than the quantity of the time. And I've done some videos on this. And what that means is that when you do get a chance to spend time with your child, just be there, be present. And even if it's not a lot of time, a lot of dads have that same situation. be, be there and such. Because there's going to be, if you're there a lot of time, and let's say your significant other spends a lot of time with the child, it can't be all quality time. Sometimes the baby's just going to sit there and not interact. You're not going to interact with the baby. You just can't. You can't have high quality time all the time. And while the baby benefits from just being in your presence, the quality of the time matters. And I know people that have had limited time with a parent, but the time was such good quality that they have a great relationship with their parent. And, you hear these stories all the time. Well, my dad worked, 70, 80 hours a week. I only saw him on the weekends, but we would, he was there and he was playing with me and we would go to the park, but and they have a good relationship with their parent. So I think just take solace in the fact that quality is more important than quantity. And, it now becomes a family decision. It's, you have to be a little less selfish. And I'm not saying that you're selfish. I'm just saying you have to look at it as a whole, that, if your fiance is able to stay home, or you have somebody else that's able to stay with the baby and you have to go to work, that's part of the process. And I think you'll be okay. I got a couple more here. Let's see. So I can't, Koichi Fox. My father died when I was 9. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. My mother wasn't very available due to working. So I want a child someday, but don't know how to be a father. What should I do? Well, I think you're doing the right thing. You're on Dad University. You're going to be watching videos. I think reading books, if eventually you want to become a member of Dad University, there's courses. I think all these kinds of resources, even people that had parents in their lives didn't necessarily have good role models. And so sometimes, and I have heard this from some people, that actually not having it helped them establish their own way of being a parent. And I think that that's an interesting way of looking at it. And instead of, hey, I don't know what to do, you can look at it in a way that says, you know what, I get to be whatever way I want to be. I don't have the influence of past parents. I don't have the negative. I don't, even some of the positive things could be. And so maybe you can look at it in a different perspective and say, I am going to learn, study, and, learn the ways that you want to be. And I think there's a lot of information out there. There's books. I have hundreds of videos on being a father. Check out the YouTube channel, look at all those. There's a pretty wide breadth of information. So David, my daughter is about to turn 1 year old. A lot of people in my social circle throw huge themed oriented birthday parties. Do you think it's worth it? Absolutely not. Do not throw a large birthday party for your child until they're about 5. Save your money. The party's for them. It's to show off. In fact, I think I did a video about this. Don't have a birthday until they're 5 or 4 or something like that, until they even know, until they even care. And even then you could have a couple friends over, some cake and some, whatever. It's such a waste in my book. I just, we had a family birthday party, I think until 3 or 4, I think my son's 4th. We finally had a big party. And even then I said, I'm not doing this again. I think he fell asleep during the cake or something. If you want to have a party and tell everybody, hey, my kid's turning it, but I'm having a barbecue because I want to celebrate the fact that I've been a really good parent, or, we're going to, then fine. But make it an adult themed party, not a kid themed party. Enjoy yourself. I think it's a waste of money. So that's my thought. And if your friends are judging you with that, then you need new friends. That's what I would say. Come hang out in my circle. I won't judge you. In fact, I'd praise you. Oh yeah. So Teen Addy, since having the kid 4 months ago, the wife hasn't been in the best emotional and mental state. Any suggestions on how I can help? Yes. Talk with her, because every woman is different. Talk with her and say, listen, I know you're going, show some empathy and say, listen, I know this has been really difficult for you. Um, I want to help you. And I, without you, kind of saying like, you may not, I understand you may not want to, but how can I help you? Because some women you can help by staying away. Other women will say, no, you could do this, you could do that, and they'll give you a list. And literally, you could say, listen, I am selfishly, I am feeling like I'm not able to contribute as much. And it would really help me if you could tell me some things I can do to help you. Because even if she doesn't want you to burden or doesn't want anything. And so, postpartum depression is real. Check out our videos on that, and it has some suggestions and such. But I'm also hesitant to say, like, go do extra work. I mean, you can go do extra work around the house. Nobody's going to complain about that. You could do whatever. But for some women, they might say, just, I want you to leave me alone. Like, I want my own day. Take the kid. I want a spa day, or just take the kid to the park so I can have hours by myself. Like, it depends. It depends what she wants. And I think you have to communicate those things with her, because every woman has different needs and desires. That's what makes women so easy. They all have different desires. That was sarcasm. My wife and I talk or laugh about that all the time. See, I just have, Franco, I'm not seeing her. I don't see a question, Franco. You're going to have to repeat it. You made a statement, but there wasn't a question. So I'm happy to answer a question, but I need a question. Let's see. So Chadford, how do I build a better bond between my mildly autistic 7-year-old son and fiance? Here's the thing, and I get questions a lot about, because I think they're looking for resources as people who have children on the spectrum. And, unfortunately, I think it takes a special expertise to do that and know the ins and outs and such. I can tell you how to bond in general, with specifically just with children and, let's say, a significant other. But as it relates specific to autism or kids on the spectrum, I don't have that specific expertise. But I would say in general, it's really up to your fiance to do the bonding. It's like forcing your child to have to spend time, or telling your child they need to do this or so. It's really up to your fiance. And so I think part of it is having the discussion with your fiance and saying, hey, if you want to be close, these are some things I'm going to need you to do. And part of that is, the same things that you would do to be close, depending on the amount of time you've been together. It's, communication, it's listening instead of talking. It's doing things that the child enjoys. So your fiance, if your child enjoys sports, then she participates in sports. If he enjoys gaming or, whatever, drawing, doesn't matter, music, having her get involved in something that he is interested in will really, really help. But you cannot force the 7-year-old to take that on and say, like, no, you have to be nice. I mean, yes, you can put up some rules like, yeah, they should be nice and whatever else, but it really comes from her making the effort to integrate into your family. And so I think that's part of it. Paul, so do you have any tips for putting a newborn to sleep? Our little one fights naps like crazy, and it takes 2 to 3 rounds of trying to put her down before she passes out. Try changing the schedule of napping, or don't nap. Try not napping. Feed the child a lot right before. That's a big one. Get a routine going. I have a nighttime routine but it's a little bit older kids. For newborns, a lot of newborns are different. I took a course called it was something to the effect of like Get Baby to Sleep or something like that. And they all have different nuances to them. And so, my advice might be different than somebody else's, but what we did, fed the child, changed the schedule a bit, try putting the child actually earlier to sleep. Our children went to bed at like 6:30 at night, and it worked beautifully. And so, and it took a while. It's not going to be perfect. And that's, most people have those difficulties. It's not like you are a bad parent. It's not like you're doing things wrong. Like, that's a common thing. I've got like one more question, and I got to go pick up my kids. Nathan, can you tell me more about Dad University and the courses that you offer? Well, that's a great one. So right now, I think we have 9 different courses. Discipline, there's a relationship course. There's about fatherhood myths. There's communication. There is all kinds of really important things about being a father. Now, what I will say is most of the course material is focused around once your children or your child is able to communicate, or, maybe about 2 or 3 years old, certainly new fathers can benefit. They can benefit from being around other fathers. They can learn the material. They can do, but as far as like homework assignments, and because every course has homework assignments, and then also all of the videos are all categorized based on age and based on subject matter. So it makes it, pretty easy. And then the other part too is you pay what feels good. So I don't have a specific amount that you have to pay to be a member. You can simply just become a member, go to daduniversity.com, click on membership, and choose how much you want to pay on a monthly basis. And it really supports the channel, supports what I'm doing. And I love it. It's really, really a rewarding thing when people get a lot out of it, and the feedback has been awesome. So it's kind of, similar stuff that you might see in my YouTube videos, just more detailed. There's courses that a lot of it's like video, slides, homework, assignments, things like that. And it's really broken down. So I think that's a great way to support the channel as well as get the own stuff for yourself. So, all right. I'm sorry, I got to go. Got to pick up my kids. If you want to support the channel, become a member, go to daduniversity.com. Also, you can just donate if you want, if you don't want to become a member, but I think it's good to become a member. Go to daduniversity.com/support. And I'll try to do more of these. It looks like a lot of questions are coming up. If I can, I will try to get back and see if I can answer these questions. I don't know if I can go back in and do that at a different time. But thank you so much. A lot of gratitude for all of you to be here. Be on the lookout. I'd love to do this again soon, because it is really fun to interact with everybody and get these questions going. So everyone have a great Wednesday evening, and I'll talk with you soon. Take care, everybody.